What's up, people? Welcome to the DualShockers ShockCast, episode 171. I'm your host, Tony Polanco. Tonight I'm joined by Ryan Meitzler.
Hello. I don't know, I was thinking
that was very anticlimactic.
I was about to think of something really funny, but I was like, I got nothing. So
we got George. George, save it for us, man.
Happy birthday, Game Boy!
Yeah, happy birthday to the Game Boy. All right, new releases for this week. Ryan, hit us.
Oh, wait, I thought Ryan was doing that.
I want you to do it.
Okay, fine. Hold on.
Right.
Okay. So for the new releases coming out, that also happens to coincide with the Game Boy's 25th birthday. We have, I don't even know how to pronounce this one. So it says Squirks 4, SQRXZ4.
What?
Squirks 4. I don't know. It might be I don't know. Squirks for Cold Cash for AMI.
You're not deep in the Squirks franchise.
AMI, Mac, DC, PC, Lin, and okay. So DC, PC, Linux, and I'm giving up on this one. I don't even know. So
forget about it.
Just give up on this one. I'm done. We have Octodad, Deadliest Catch for PS4, Demon Gaze for Vita and PlayStation Network, Fracked OSC for PC, Starlight Inception. Why do you guys give me the games with all the friggin' really hard titles? So anyway, Starlight Inception for PlayStation Network for Vita, Cell Damage HD for PS4, PS3, and PlayStation Vita, Defense Technica for PS3, Soul Calibur Lost Swords for PS3, The Walking Dead Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2 for PlayStation Vita, Putty Squad for PlayStation Vita, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario Advance 3 for the Wii U eShop, Dark Souls 2 on PC, the NES Remix 2 for Wii U, and Max: The Curse of Brotherhood for PC.
And nothing for the Brown system, right?
Of course.
And nothing to call back to last week. I don't know. What are you guys picking from this?
I would probably go with either Octodad or Cell Damage, because I didn't get a chance to play Octodad yet, but I've wanted to, and Cell Damage I used to enjoy a lot when it first came out, so that's probably my pick for the week.
Dark Souls 2 on the PC.
What's Soul Calibur?
The real version.
Yeah, what's Soul Calibur? Yeah.
Lost Swords,
the real version.
Lost Swords is a free-to-play game for PS3. So it's like the PS3's Killer Instinct, pretty much.
Actually, it's not a two-player fighting game. It's like a single-player fighting game.
Oh yeah, there's that too. Yeah, it's single-player.
You have your custom guy, and you get them swords and fire.
Yeah, there's no online multiplayer.
It's interesting. Dark Souls 2 on the PC, what's so special about it, other than it having nicer graphics? Anything else?
Nicer graphics.
Okay, that's all you got.
All of my Souls experience has always been on the PC, even though last Dark Souls had that issue where it was like, oh wait, what do you mean PC players play something in a higher resolution more than like 720 over 600? So you had to like mod it to make the game look good. But they assured us this time around the PC version is like, oh no, we're working on it for realsies. We didn't shop it out to like a studio has no idea what they're doing. We got this. It should look good. But
there's also the added feature that when you die, your computer explodes. So it's a bonus difficulty. So if you die once,
exactly.
Well, did you guys hear that thing Kojima was talking about one time? Like, he wanted to make a game where if you die, the game becomes useless.
Yeah, I remember that.
Not surprising, but okay.
It wasn't going to be a Metal Gear, but he was like, oh yeah, it'd be an interesting idea. And it was like, I don't think people would pay $30 for a game, and if they die, it's fucking done.
Exactly. My pick, I guess because I reviewed it, is Octodad, even though I have some issues with that fucking game. So yeah, let's talk about Octodad real quick. Have either of you played it before?
Yeah.
No, I have not.
All right. My take on it is I absolutely love the idea because it's like, how do you come up with that? It's like, okay, here's a cephalopod that thinks it's a human, and everybody else thinks he's human too. It's like that's genius level stuff. I said this in my reel. I'm like, I want whatever the developers were ingesting when they came up with the idea because that's just amazing. Execution, a lot to be desired. It's like because you got to control each of the limbs with the buttons and stuff, and sometimes I forget what would do what. It's just
that's
weird and stuff. And then adding the physics. Whoa, say that again. You cut out there.
I'm sorry. That's kind of the beauty of the game. It's basically you're playing a 3D version of QWOP.
Okay, tell us about QWOP, because that's a game I've heard of, but I've never played.
It's that game where you're the you're the runner, and in order for him to run, you have to QUOP, and that controls the individual limbs. So you have to kind of hit them in unison, so you've got to get the legs moving in the right direction. And if you fuck up, your guy keeps falling over. So Octodad is pretty much the same way, because you control all his limbs. So it's like the arms are over here, but then you have to remember how to walk, and it's like, all right, left foot, then right foot, left foot, then right foot. Oh, but wait, I'm holding on to. Oh, he's all over this way. Blah. The wedding cake is ruined.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's like.
It's kind of like a goat simulator kind of thing, where it's like one of those games like I'd like to just try, just because it looks so dumb and silly and fun that like I'd like to play it. Like even though I know it's kind of short and it's not really something that's like like crazy complex or something, but it still looks fun.
But I love the premise behind it, because it's just like he's just trying to pass through daily life, and he's just doing it so hard. Like, just putting on his tie, or like what can you do there? I know you can go food shopping there, or you can
you go food shopping. Yeah, it's like it's not. That's what I loved about it, because you're just doing mundane shit, but since you're a crazy octopus, it's really hard to do it.
Fixing breakfast is, I think, my favorite.
I was cooking burgers. I burned them and stuff. Mowing the lawn. The game was kind of glitchy too. I remember at one point we're having a weird live issue tonight. Anyway, go ahead.
And there's one level where you have to like wait in line for movie tickets, right? So that it kind of spirals like that, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little delay as we're talking, but I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why there's the delay tonight, but yeah, you had to get tickets. And I just cut in front of everyone. And they were like, "Hey, what are you doing? That guy's cutting in line, man."
I'm just being a human, like you guys. Humans are jerks, right? Octopus walking.
But the execution was it left a lot to be desired. But you're right, that's part of the charm too. It's kind of hard to control your body if you're a freaking squid. And I'm kind of grateful you only have to control 4 limbs instead of 8. That would have been a nightmare. I don't know how you would have done that.
That's the New Game Plus mode. That's,
So yeah, I reviewed that. And George, you reviewed the baseball game. Are you a baseball fan by any chance?
The baseball game? You mean the baseball game?
Oh, I don't know. They're all the same to me. What is it, MLB, the show, right?
Well, there's only one this year, so. So if you're a
baseball game, you reviewed.
So if you're a baseball fan and just looking for a baseball game, there was literally only one choice, and it's on a PlayStation system. Because UK never renewed their MLB license, so they kind of bowed out of baseball for this year. So you're really just stuck with MLB 14, the show, which has always been a really good game. It kind of always reminds me how say like the NHL games have been, where it's just like. Every year, they're just superbly done, and they always add a little bit more to kind of justify the purchase. And this year was was no different. And the best part, outside of it just being like just a well-playing baseball game and just a great-looking one, I was playing the PS3 version, and it looks really good. And so that I'm kind of curious to see what it's going to look like on PS4, because I saw the comparison photos where it's like, look at his beard. But look at his beard on PS4, and like, whoa! But my favorite part about that game has always been, the road to the show, which is it's kind of like their baseball RPG mode, where you make a character from scratch. You kind of give him his age, where he's from, your position, and they kind of give you a couple stat points to play with. So it's like, I'm gonna make him a slugger. I'm gonna make him a really fast infielder guy. So I was able to start the career of Cobra Jimenez. And the way they do it is they kind of put you, I love that name. And then you can pick the audio cues for it. So they say, Cobra Jimenez coming up to bat. I'm like, fuck yeah, go get him, Cobra. And so they do something. They changed a lot of things around this year, because the previous versions had like advancement goals, meaning you were in the AA and you wanted to get to the AAA. They say these are 4 or 5 goals you need to hit in a set amount of games in order for you to get there. The only problem is they were randomized, meaning they say, hey, you need to hit like 5 home runs, get 30 RBIs and blah blah blah. But the problem is my guy would be a leadoff hitter, meaning I don't get those kind of scoring opportunities, so I can never hit these goals. So you kind of were always stuck. This time around, they do kind of a performance evaluating where it's like, if you just do really well, they're just going to take that into account and just be like, all right, you're ready for AAA, or hey, man, you're ready for the majors. But no, it's really good, and I love the way they did their draft system this time around, where it's basically you'll play in a 3-game series, and depending on how well you do, that determines your draft spot. So I did okay, and I was like a late 3rd-round draft pick to the Red Sox, and that was really interesting because I did a whole season, and I got to the midway point, and the starting shortstop for the Xander Bogaerts hurt himself, so there was like a shortstop spot opened up. So I actually got called up for a few games to play in the majors, and then get sent back to the minors, and then came back during the playoffs. But like I said, it's really cool. And then in that mode, you only control your character. So I'm only involved in shortstop-related play. So any ground ball situations, any double play kind of scenarios, those are the balls you're always going to play. So whenever you see yourself on screen, that means that ball's going to get hit to you. You don't know where. This might be a diving play. It might go by you. But they do a good job of, if you make a mistake, you probably lost the game because you made those mistakes. So they always try to center everything around you. So if you're doing really well, your team's probably going to win. So really good. And then they added some other modes that just you saw the focus was like increasing the pace of it. So they have something called quick count where they do this weird thing where they take 2 years of pitching and batting data. So it's like, Tony, let's say you're pitching and I'm hitting. They'll take 2 years of your pitching history, maybe versus me, or just versus lefties in general, and then they'll compile a pitch count right before I bat up. So I may bat up and be like, hey, by the way, it's 1 ball, 2 strikes, because based on history, this is important. So it speeds up the thing where it's like, hey, this is a payoff pitch. You can strike, you can come up to bat, you can strike out, or get something that you can knock out of the ballpark. So that's really, so I thought that was really neat. But like I said, it's a solid game. It's tough to review something that really doesn't change over time because it's one of those, the gameplay's so solid that you don't have to do much to it to improve on it. So I saw more of I took the angle of, is it still fun?
Yeah.
And after playing, I'm like, damn, this is really good fun. And I love the fact that they added these modes where you can kind of speed things up, because the game takes like 45 minutes to go through, but if you do kind of these quick count things, it's a real blessing in disguise, especially if, like, I always kind of hated the pitching side of things, so I always wanted to, like, kind of get through it. So it's like, you're in an at-bats already, it's like, hey, it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. I'm like, oh, okay, I only really threw 1 pitch at this at-bat. And that really shaves down the game to be like 15 minutes each. So if you're doing like a season mode, oh, you blow right through that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, instead of just saying, just simulate everything and I'll just kind of play every 3rd game. So.
Yeah, here's my random question, because I am not a fan of baseball or baseball games. Would somebody like me like this thing? Like, or do you need to be a baseball fan to actually enjoy it?
I think, like most sports games, and particularly baseball, since there are a lot of rules, like if you just picked up MLB The Show and started playing, you're going to be like, what's a strike? Wait, what's a ground rule double? I'm not following this.
Yeah, like half the shit you said right now went right over my head. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's not as straightforward as like a tennis game, because like you can kind of get the fundamentals of tennis. So it's like, you have a racket, I have a racket, there's a ball, I have to get it past you.
Yeah.
Or even, football is almost just as complicated. So it's like, if you're not a fan, you're gonna sit there and be like, oh, this is a nice looking game. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was one of those things, kind of like Fight Night on 360 when that came out, or Fight Night Round 3. Like when that came out, like shortly after the 360 launch, like that was a good game because it's not, like, boxing's not as complex as most other sports because it's pretty much just beating the crap out of the other guy. But it was also good because it came out and it really showed off like what the system could do, because everyone was like, oh man, this looks amazing. And I think MLB The Show is kind of in a similar position where it's coming out a couple months after both consoles launched. And it looks amazing, so it's a good chance for people to kind of see like what the new consoles can do.
MLB The Show is always the best looking game on the PS3 every year.
Yeah.
You sit there and it just blows you away. So I'm really curious because the PS4 version isn't even out yet. It comes out 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, so you played the PS3? That's the only version, the PS3 version.
That's the only. And then there's Vita version that I heard also looks really good. But gameplay wise, yeah, gameplay wise, nothing changes. It's just like, hey, the PS4 version just has like 300 more animations. So, wow, he made that turn around second base differently this time around. Or, oh, look, he slipped. Like, that stuff is really neat. And, like, if you're, like, a diehard baseball fan, you'll appreciate the different ways a bat could shatter when you get jammed up by a pitcher. And it's like, that's really cool.
Right.
Awesome.
But yeah, also, but, like, online is still garbage. Like, they've never been able to work that network out but in a game that's, like, so timing focused, like, I can't have the game drop a dozen frame rates or stutter when you're throwing a pitch at me.
Oh,
Like,
that's not good. No, man, can't have that.
like, I am sorry, but no, that's not how baseball's supposed to be played. Might as well just close my eyes when you throw the ball and swing. But playing with another person, it's great baseball, and just in time for baseball season. So yeah, if you're a fan, or even just like kind of like a passing baseball fan, where it's like, I'll watch a game on TV or something, you'll love the Road to the Show because it's like a super condensed version of baseball, and it's just focused on you. Meaning, if you make a catcher, you get to call all the pitches, you get to do all the plays at the plate. If you're a pitcher or like a relief pitcher, you only come in for a couple innings to like save the game or close it out. If you're a third baseman, you just deal with shit that involves third base. So bunts, ground balls, making that long throw to first base. So there's nothing more hilarious than realizing you didn't put enough points into arm accuracy and just throwing everything over the first baseman's head, and people just boo you, and then the announcers keep on reminding you that they lost this game because of your error. Like, I do love the commentary tracks this time around. They sound super bored, but I love that they reference anything that happens in the game, especially when you do making your new character. They'll start referencing stuff you did the week prior. It's like, hey, did you know that he got 7 hits last week, or he's batting 400 in these 3 games? Like, those little touches are pretty amazing, and just that's always been the advantage of the MLB games over, say, like the 2K baseball games. It's just they took full advantage of the disk space on those Blu-rays, meaning they filled that up with so much crap. There's a lot of there's a lot of audio. There's just a lot of things just banked in there. Like, they have over like 500 names just banked there. So if you wanted to make a Ryan Meitzler, there's probably been a baseball player who's been called Meitzler.
Somewhere.
There's probably been a baseball player that's either had the word Tony or Polanco as his name.
Oh, I'm pretty damn sure about that. Yeah.
And you can just and you mush them together, and it sounds really seamless. And I was like, that's always been the really fun part. And then you always give yourself stupid nicknames, like I'm Cobra Jimenez. So it's so hilarious when you hear someone say, "And batting up is Cobra Jimenez." Did you know that?
Cobra. That's awesome, man. I was gonna ask you about the announcers.
There, it's good. It's good baseball. I always look forward to this release every year because I don't play many sports games, and Road to the Show is a game I kind of always like to go back to. It's like, I can do a couple of games as my shortstop and see how far I can get them when I'm not like in a I'm gonna shoot some dudes mode. Like, this is a good alternative for that.
Yeah, when you don't want to shoot dudes inside a mech, you want to play baseball.
Exactly. Gotta work
There you go. And we have Ryan. You reviewed The Wolf Among Us episode 3.
Yes, I did. A little bit delayed, but just with PAX going on, everything.
PAX,
I didn't get a chance to. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to get to it earlier. But yes, I played through the most recent episode. It's kind of tough to talk about it without spoiling the story at this point, since now this is officially halfway through the season. But I guess overall, what I kind of touched upon in my review was like, I really enjoyed it just because I felt like it really got the plot moving. And have you guys played the new episode at all? Or?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the whole thing to finish. Then I'm going to just sit
I finished on episode 2, but you can kind of see that it was kind of a slow. It's a good build, but it's a slow build to something.
Yeah, episode 2 in particular. Yeah, episode 2 in particular was a little slow. But that's a bad thing. But I think just in terms of I enjoyed episode 3 a lot just because it kind of picked up the pace a little bit, and it really gave a lot of some really tough choices. And so I think, given its position as kind of the middle of the season now where it's at, I think it does a nice job of kind of setting things up for the rest of the season and where it's going to be going and all that. So, yeah.
I think it hasn't quite climaxed yet.
Right, yeah. But, yeah, it does, kind of set up where, again, it's tough to say without spoiling, but, it does set up nicely, I think, what's going to be happening for the rest of the season. And I'm really excited for it, and, because I've been enjoying it as much, or maybe even a little bit more so than Walking Dead Season 2 at this point. So.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah. But, yeah, otherwise, I enjoyed it. That was really good.
Awesome. All right, I want to talk about some stuff. This is something that happened immediately after PAX, and I've still been talking to my friends about it because it's a weird thing. So after PAX, I was getting a couple of tweets going, hey, man, it was nice meeting you. It was great meeting another Latino writer, and that kind of threw me off a little bit because I'm like, yeah, I'm Dominican, I'm Latino, but I don't stylize myself in that way. I'm just a writer. I write for everybody, and that got me thinking, like you have a guy like Adam Sessler. I see him. Oh, that's cool. He's a good writer. Brian Crescente, I go, oh, he's kind of like me. So I want to know, what do you guys think about that? Like for me, I noticed that a lot of my peers, a lot of my fans are, minority. Do you think we just gravitate towards each other because of our race or something like that? I don't know. What do you guys think about this? It's just very interesting to me, this whole subject.
I think it just goes as far as just people like being able to identify with other people. So it's kind of like seeing, it's kind of interesting seeing someone doing something that you enjoy, who happens to be of, your same skin color, or just like, oh, look at that, it's another dude with a mohawk who likes to write about video games. That's awesome. Like, it just gives you that kind of common ground, and it kind of gives you the idea, like, oh, look, I'm not alone in like my interest of this particular thing. Like, maybe I'm not so weird, or it's like, oh, look, other Dominicans like this, because yeah, I'm Dominican too, and I get that sometimes too. It's like, oh, it's cool to see like a Spanish guy in the tech, talking about video games in tech. I'm like, great. I mean, maybe I'm just kind of that ignorant too. It's just like, or maybe we just kind of grew up in an area that's so diverse where we're just kind of used to these things. But
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Maybe it's not like that to the young Hispanic person who's in like Wisconsin, who's just like, hey, there are not many of me around, so it's cool to see other Hispanic people who write about video games, and it's good to see that they're actual people and like we can have a dialogue. So I think it's more about that. And we always talk about like diversity in video games, just like, well, you don't see that many black people or female lead characters in there, because the majority of the audience is just young white guys. So that's what that's how they identify. But I think I think when you start seeing more of the game creators getting a little bit more diverse, you're going to start seeing a little bit more diverse characters, because people write what they know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. I think because of where I grew up, my view is skewed a little bit, because I'm like, okay, most of the friends I have are geeks. They're mostly minority, but there's not many minority geeks in professional geeks. You know what I mean? I'm like, there's a little bit of a weird disconnect going on. There's not many of us, quote unquote us, making games, even though most of the people I know that enjoy video games or geek things in general are minority. But I think it's just a case of me living in New York, not in the rest of the country where the majority is white. And none of this is a bad thing. Some people thought I was like complaining. No, I'm not. It's just strange to me, because in my mind I write for everybody. I don't write for a particular crowd. But on the one hand, it's a little bit flattering too. It's like, if you kind of look up to me because I'm a Latino writer, that's great. Maybe it'll get you to write too. So that's fine. But I also talked to my friend Manny, Ryan, you met. He's an artist. He colors for DC Comics and stuff. Same thing with him. He's Emilio Lopez. His fan base is Hispanic or minority. The guy who he colors for, Kari Randolph, he's black. Most of his fans are black, and they specifically come up to him at conventions and go, "Hey man, I didn't even know us black guys could get into this." So it's just kind of weird. I think you're right. It's just a little bit like, hey, I'm like this, and that guy's doing something I want to do. That's pretty cool. So I don't know how to go about it. I'm just gonna go about my normal business, but I'm gonna be a little cognizant of the fact that I kind of represent something. It's very interesting.
You're a role model, Tony.
We all want to be like you, Tony.
Yeah. There's no real answer. Yeah, like I was trying to find an answer. There's no real answer. It's just the way it is. Like, humans are kind of just drawn to people that are like-minded. I even asked my friend Carlos, who's also kind of a fan of mine. I was like, hey, dude, do you like me because are you a fan of mine because I'm Hispanic like you? He's Mexican, and at first he was like, no, I just like you because you're a good writer. And then we kept talking. And then he goes, you know what? I kind of like the fact that you're Dominican. That's cool to me.
There's some idea. It's like, hey, look, I can do anything.
Yeah, I think that's what it is too.
The same way when you see like a Latino movie star, or like a black singer, or like a black hockey player, and you're like, oh man, it's like there's no sign that says you can't do this because of my race. It's like, no, there's someone doing it. If I work hard enough, I can get there. Like, I don't know. I'm always open to, like, I love seeing more diversity, especially like in the last couple of years, you're just seeing a lot more people that like press events and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, this is, you see people who you didn't think were normally there. And you're like, hey, this is awesome. Like, I like seeing more female writers. I like seeing more black writers, more Hispanic writers. I think that's awesome. And, when we all have different backgrounds on top of that, or how we grew up, and we bring our own personal experiences, and that comes out in how we write and just how we interact with each other. And I think it makes just kind of the industry a better place. And
yeah, I completely agree with that.
I think we see that a lot more in the games press side of things. it's slowly becoming a thing in the gaming industry now that like more schools are offering it, because the game design used to be kind of like you really had to have some these were expensive to do, but then you have these tools like Unity and Epic where it's like, hey, look, I don't have to break the bank to try to make a game. I can give it a shot and see what happens.
Yeah, it's also I think like you said, Jorge, just kind of like game design becoming more of a a scholarly field or a more recognized field specifically for game design rather than just like being computer science or whatever. Now you have colleges and schools that are offering game design classes specifically for for that. So
yeah, you don't have to be a super genius to make a video game, which is great.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing. There's always a barrier of entrance for minorities. And remember, let's just be honest. With some of us, it's kind of shunned to do this sort of stuff. Computer-y things. So that's something someone else has brought up with to me. It's like some people have regretted the fact that they didn't do this shit earlier just because their family didn't want them to get into computer design or things like that. So there's a little bit of a cultural thing there too that kind of keeps us from breaching the wall, as it were.
But as we're moving into the 21st century, or we're in the 21st century, you're gonna start seeing more people taking more of those creative risks. Where a lot of that is a risk. It's you can go and say, I want to go into game design. You can go into game design and not make a penny, or you can go into game design and make a really good living. It really depends. Sometimes the chips don't fall in your favor. So it is a risk when you go towards a creative field, just because if you're not doing legitimate commercial work, you're just gonna be a starving programmer guy or starving designer. You always run in that risk. Same thing goes with writing. If you can write full time and be freelance, and it's just hey, it could be super rewarding, or it could stress you out because you haven't made any money this month.
Yeah, exactly.
Or everyone pays in net 45, so it's hey man, I just did so many great features and articles. I'm not seeing that money for almost a month and a half. Oh man, how am I gonna pay for rent? That's super stressful, and I think when you put it that way, some people are like, what? I think I'll manage a Foot Locker. That's fine. It's a steady.
Yeah, right.
I'm not afraid. I know that money's coming in every week.
Yeah, it's I want to do this, but it brings in the money, so yeah, that could be it too. But I'm thinking about some of the other, some people that are actually minorities in the gaming industry. You have the guy who did Papo and Yo. He's Hispanic. The subject matter of that game is actually kind of relevant to a lot of us because drunk dads. I certainly had one. Then you have the main guy who runs. Oh God, I'm forgetting the name of the studio. They do the Order 1886. He's Indian. So we're kind of getting in there too. Just slowly but surely. I think you're right. Now,
buddy Sean Alexander from Treachery and Beatdown City. He always talks about diversity in games, and he's always a prominent figure in saying people need to write what they know. He's I don't know anything about white women, so I'm not going to write about white women not going to put white women in my game, or at least not put one in without asking a white woman. It's hey, are you guys anything like this at all? Did I get
Yeah. That makes sense to me. Yeah, exactly. Write about what you know, and they'll be more genuine.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, let's move on to the next one. So it was announced that Watch Dogs will indeed have multiplayer. Let's just run down the multiplayer things real quick, and then I want to get to the heart of what I want to get to. George, what's in this thing? They only announced 3 modes so far today, right?
Yeah, one of the modes was you can kind of invade other people's games, and you can invade a person's game, and someone can invade your game. Basically, how it works is you invade their game, you'll show up as a kind of random citizen, and the idea is you're trying to hack that character. You have to, stay still and maybe hack some cameras, and I need to find Tony lurking around the park as his aiding character and then hack him. You'll get a notification saying, hey man, you're being hacked. Someone in this vicinity is hacking you. So you need to figure out by, using your phone and scanning who's hacking you. So you'd be like, oh, this person, not a suspect, not a suspect. But it's hey, there's a million people, or how do I get these people out of here? So the idea is to look for the person who's not behaving like an AI. So what the guy did was he took his gun out, fired a couple rounds in the air, and everyone started scattering. So he's all right, who's not running away? That's probably a player character.
Yeah.
The character needs to be still in order to hack you. So what the guy did was he took a truck and hacked him from inside a car. So he was looking around, and then he just kind of sees this guy who's parked who hasn't moved after hearing numerous gunshots. So he saw that it was him. He took out his gun, started firing some rounds at him. So the hacker needed to run away. and then it becomes kind of a chase sequence, meaning you need to kill this guy. If not, he hacks you, and then you win some like hacker points that you can use to like beef up your character. And then they showed it, and then they showed another mode, and then you can, vice versa, and just invade someone else's game and do that. Then there's also like a head-to-head mode where a team of 4 versus another team of 4 are fighting over data. So you find, some files on the internet or something, you put them on your PDA or your smartphone, and you have to keep together in order to get the information, hack whatever database. You need to get this from 0 to 100. There's people shooting at you, and they can stop this timer by just literally getting in your face and shooting you. So the idea is you have to get it and then get as far away as possible. It was kind of like those Grand Theft Auto online modes where it's like, here's a thing of drugs. Now you need to get the hell out of here. It's the same thing, except it's like, this is valuable data, information, and stuff. So what they did, so you saw them like, using the environment, luring the other team into traps because they were like, hey, we have to get out of here. It's like, well, they're going to chase us, so you can run away. We'll kind of do a little bottleneck here. And they showed like, here's some proximity mines, and they can like set off some steam pipes and hack these cover things to drop on guys. So I mean, it looked fine. I mean, it wasn't. They kind of made it seem like you don't have to do it. It's all the kind of just side stuff. And I do like how though it's kind of pretty seamless because the hacking into people's games comes from it's in the single player mode. So you can just be doing a campaign mission, and it's like, oh hey Tony, by the way, there's some asshole in your game who may try to hack you. Like I don't know if it's just like Dark Souls, where it's like I can invade your game, but I'm just gonna lurk around and just kind of creep you out a bit, but not quite engage you. So I don't know. That looks okay. I mean, the more footage I see of Watch Dogs that isn't what I saw like 2 years ago is always a good thing. So it's just more evidence that this is a real game now.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing about that is, it just got me thinking. Originally, I was going to talk about, do some of these games need multiplayer, but I think it's kind of like, where do you think multiplayer is going with games? I noticed, with Watch Dogs, the way you described it, that got the Division Journey a couple of years ago. Like they're trying to blend the single player with the multiplayer. On the one hand, I think that's kind of cool because there's a specific mode for it, and it's not just the usual kill as many of these people as possible. But on the other hand, it kind of kills the solitariness of the single player, which I personally kind of like. Just getting down with the game and just you becoming one with it. But yeah, I don't know how to feel about it.
We don't know the context of these multiplayer modes or like this hacking stuff, so I wouldn't be able to make that call until I actually play it. You'll know when you play it where it's like, well, this multiplayer is bullshit. They literally just threw this on. But you take something like Dark Souls where it's like the multiplayer kind of makes sense and it's kind of ingenious the way they do it that way, where it's like it's co-op but you can't communicate because the guy's a fucking ghost, so you can't talk to ghosts, but they'll help you out. And evil ghosts want to jump into your game. It's like, hey, it makes sense for the world that you're in, and the multiplayer works. I think the biggest concern for Watch Dogs is going to be, and and we'll know very soon if it's just a tacked on thing, or this is just something they're like, this is just so you don't trade in the game in 12 hours, or man, we don't. There's not much content in this game. We need to throw some more stuff in here. Like I said, I'll wait for it to come out to kind of make that verdict. I mean, it looks fine. It plays like a third-person, the action's like a third-person shooter, I guess, with covers. I'm like, that's kind of cool, and you have your phone, so it's like, hack that cover. I'm like, great. Like, I'm not playing Watch Dogs for the gunplay. It's like this isn't the reason why I play a Grand Theft Auto 5 either. It's not to, yeah, you can make a big mess of everything, but I like just being a part of the big immersive world. So, Watch Dogs is going to be about how lively is this world, how lively is Chicago, does all this make sense, which is the more important question, because when you're playing an open world game, the world is a more important character than the actual main character in the story. So as long as if Chicago's super fun, and I'm like, hey, you know what, I'm digging this multiplayer because I love, this city's really cool. It's why even with all the problems, some people are still like loyally devoted to Grand Theft Auto Online because they love Los Santos, and it's like, something is wrong with you. But I can understand that if you fall in love with a setting, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna put up with a lot of bullshit, just because it makes sense to me. I know this city, I know the shortcuts, I know this, I know that, so it could work. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, the video looked all right. It was one of those like very scripted, like, oh man, I'm gonna get you now. Oh yeah, I just barely got away. Good job. I'm like, oh, like I hate those developer walkthroughs that are super scripted. It's what you'll see when you go to like a press event, and the so-called hands-on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I wonder what's behind this corner. Whoa!
Yeah, but yeah, but like, well, like I didn't really know too much about the Watch Dogs multiplayer pretty much until you guys talked about it, or at least what was in it. But I mean, like the idea of it sounds really cool, and that's I think what I'm looking forward to more is that like you said, Tony, kind of like these the way that developers are kind of trying to integrate single player and multiplayer together into one. Because if you had a situation kind of like for Dead Space, for example, like when they added multiplayer in Dead Space 2, it was just a tacked on,
which was terrible, by the way.
Yeah, it was just a tacked on deathmatch mode, or even Tomb Raider. Like they had just kind of like generic like deathmatch sorts of things, which are like they're clearly just tacked on for adding content. Versus something like The Division, Destiny, stuff like that, where they're trying new things with it, and even like even for example something like Journey, like included multiplayer and you didn't even know it really. So I think if it was things like that integrate it in really interesting ways and like create a different kind of experience, then I'm all for it. Or even something like, because in Grand Theft Auto 5, I didn't play any GTA Online, but that you could go to multiplayer right from single player, right? You could just jump in and like play it.
You have a 3-character wheel, and then on the bottom is your 4th online character. So you just scroll down. I mean, yeah, you're going through another loading screen.
Right.
With everything goes on, but it's like, I can do it from. I don't have to exit and go to a menu or do this. Just bam.
Yeah. And I mean, what you guys said about Watch Dogs kind of reminds me of the same thing. It's like, even though you're in a single-player mission, you can still kind of have these sort of multiplayer integrated, components. And even though you're playing in this big open-world single-player game, it gives kind of an almost MMO kind of feel, even though realistically you're just playing the game by yourself. True. So yeah. Or I had another example too. The Infamous games, like Second Son, did they have like the user-generated levels and things like that, or user-generated missions?
No.
Okay, no, I think I'm thinking of Infamous 2, where they had that, where you could create.
Infamous 2, they had that, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if they carried that over into Second Son or not. But in Infamous 2, you could have user-generated missions, so that way, like players would create levels, and then while you're playing the game, you could go jump in and play these user-created missions at pretty much any time. So I think just things like that kind of like blend the single-player and multiplayer, I'm definitely more interested in, rather than just like generic deathmatch add-on mode kind of things.
And I think we already had the discussion of Watch Dogs being like a test bed, where it's going to be the essentially what happened to Assassin's Creed 1, where it's like, all right, we're going to have some really cool ideas here. Some of them might not work, but the ones that do, we're really going to hammer them home.
Right. Yeah, and it was just the unfortunate problem of Assassin's Creed 1, where it was like those same ideas that were rehashed for 10 hours, versus Assassin's Creed 2, where they they kind of fleshed it out into a more full game. So I mean, even if Watch Dogs does end up like that, like I think the multiplayer, from what you guys said, sounds really cool. I mean, even Assassin's Creed, they managed to turn multiplayer into a pretty interesting component of the game, even though
I really like those Assassin's.
Yeah, it even had its own story and everything.
Yeah.
I said I really enjoyed those multiplayer games.
Yeah, those were good. Yeah.
Those cat and mouse kind of things. It was it was essentially a deathmatch, but it was a different approach to deathmatch.
Right.
Like I said, Ubisoft is always kind of known for, give them credit. They will try something new with a game. The only problem is
they will. They definitely will. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I like the whole the cat and mouse thing. It's more slow because that's always been my problem with multiplayer. It's like you get in there, it's like run, kill. It's like slow down. Let me breathe it in here. Let's see what's going on. So I kind of like that. You gotta think more. There was a game I was playing recently that's kind of like that. It's like it was multiplayer, but it was a little bit more deliberate. I like that, and I like that. I mean, I like the idea of blending it all together like Journey, but at the same time, I kind of don't want some jerk off ruining the game I'm playing. If I just want it to be single player, so hopefully
turn that off. It's like, hey, do you want people to hack into your game? Be like, well, fuck no. Like, why are people bothering me?
Yeah, you turn that off. That's fine, Dan. I don't care.
I feel like we're like on a satellite delay. I feel like we're doing like an MSNBC like interview.
Yeah, I'm being very kind of like careful with like I'm like, let me wait for him to stop. Did he finish? Did he finish? Okay, let me jump in now. It's really weird. So sorry about that, people for who are listening. So yeah, I guess we'll see how but it seems like these companies are going in a specific direction when it comes to multiplayer, and it's just integrating the single player and multiplayer, which is it could be cool. We'll just have to see how that goes. All right, let's talk some news. Here's the funnest thing I posted this week. Game Boy, my beloved Game Boy, turns 25, which also makes me feel very old because I got a Game Boy when it was first released in 1989.
Yeah. Depressing that the Game Boy is slightly older than me, but you know.
Ryan's such a big.
Yeah, baby, man. Yeah, I'm like, damn, that makes me feel old too. Shit. Like, damn, Ryan.
I was
but yeah,
that was my, out of all the Game Boys to come out, the one that always kind of stuck with me was the Game Boy Pocket. I wasn't even though the clamshell SP was really good, I think I kind of grew, I think age-wise, I was kind of getting away from handheld, so that Game Boy Pocket hit me like, I was in like, I think it was like 7th or 8th grade in high school, and I was playing Pokemon Blue in like my English class. And I remember that vividly because whenever the teacher would walk around, I would just kind of slyly just put the Game Boy right in my shirt pocket. Whatever. I wasn't trying to catch a Snorlax. I was here paying attention. Wait, what's a pronoun? I got this. Like.
That's a funny story. That's actually how I lost my Game Boy. I lent it to a friend of mine, and this idiot starts playing it in class. Teacher takes it away, and I go to the teacher. I'm like, "Hey, that was my Game Boy. Can I get it back?" They're like, "No, you got to get your parent in here." I tell my mom to get it for me. She's like, "Nope, it's tough shit. You shouldn't have brought your Game Boy to school." And that's how I lost my Game Boy.
Yeah, some depressing memories with that. Yeah, I remember like my copy of Pokemon Red got stolen at school, and I got so upset. It was the worst thing. It was bad. We ended up getting Red and Blue to replace it. So it was good times. But yeah, I mean, my Game Boy, I had really fond memories of it because like I had my own, and then I remember I had all the crazy attachments for my Game Boy. So I had like the magnifying glass with the light, and all, like the ridiculous. It made the Game Boy about like this big. It was ridiculous.
What else have?
They had. Well, I had like the
adventurer's backpack they had with.
Yeah,
I had batteries. There's a speaker.
I had a crazy carrying case, and then like around the time, I guess with the Game Boy Color when they came out with like the print, or was the printer was the original Game Boy? The like the Nintendo printer, you could print out like little photos and stickers and stuff.
Oh
like
that. Yeah.
The Game Boy Camera, yeah, that was it. Yeah, so I think that was like around the original Game Boy time around then. But I remember having those and like all the crazy. That's like probably the thing I miss most about Nintendo systems because now like no Nintendo system has those like crazy attachments and stuff you could only get with the original, like the old school Nintendo stuff.
I want the robot, damn it. You know, if the Wii U came with that robot, I would buy it. Remember that?
If I had a crazy magnifying glass and a nightlight for my 3DS, it'd be the best thing ever. It'd be awesome. Yeah. But I just also remember fondly because my grandpa used to really be into Game Boy, especially Tetris. He was like a Tetris genius. Like I'm pretty sure he's the only person that actually beat Tetris. And like so that's kind of also what I remember the most about it as well. Was like just kind of sharing time with my grandpa, like doing that. So that was my all memory for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny when you bring up Tetris. Tetris was the game that I played because Tetris is one of the launch titles for it, so that's what I got.
Yeah.
And I played the hell out of that game. And this kind of depressed me because I was 9, 10 years old when this came out, right? I love Tetris so much. Then I let my nephew, who was 10 at the time, play Tetris, and he was like, "This is boring. I want to play Spider-Man." It's like, oh my god, like what the fuck? Kids don't appreciate. Yeah. But yeah, that was good. And that was actually like, yeah.
I was just saying that's Tony's old man moment. He's like, back in my day.
Yeah, so we appreciated Tetris, you fucking kids.
How much money do you pay a Game Boy Pocket printer, Pikachu version?
Ooh.
Japanese. How much do you think that's going for on eBay right now?
I don't even want to know, but I imagine a lot.
I'm gonna go with $300.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna Price is Right, Tony, and I'm gonna go like 301.
Well, Tony would win. Because it's actually $98.77 for a Japanese printer Pokemon Pikachu version. But if we were going to go with the Game Boy Advance SP Pokemon Center Limited Edition Pikachu Yellow Bundle, which comes with good okay, it's the game. Okay, yellow Game Boy SP with Pokemon Yellow. All Japanese, a Pikachu Gotta Catch 'Em All carrying case, printer paper, which on its own is $8 a roll, Go fuck yourself.
Wow.
Batteries. This bad boy took 6 AA's. And, oh yeah, and the printer itself, I guess. That is going for a whopping $629.99. Like new, but with free expedited shipping.
That's nice, at least.
Free shipping.
That's ridiculous.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait,
man. It's funny.
You could buy 2 Wii U. You could buy 2 Wii U's for that price. So.
Yeah, right? Shit. Yeah, it's funny, going back to old man moments. Everyone, would talk about the game, like, oh yeah, I played Pokemon. It's like, Pokemon came out like maybe 4 years after I got my Game Boy stolen in 1995. It was like, wow, man, But it shows you how long the Game Boy was around. Like, the Game Boy lasted all the way up until the DS, didn't it? It was around for a long time.
Well, yeah, but I get the Game Boy Advance, and then up until the DS, yeah.
Yeah, then it evolved into a DS.
Yeah.
Yeah, because let's just be right. That's what the DS is. It's a Game Boy, just not a name, but it's a Game Boy. That's what 3DS is too. It's just another iteration of the Game Boy. Without the Game Boy, we wouldn't have had things like 3DS and the Vita. That was beyond Tiger Toys. I don't know if you guys remember Tiger Toys back in the day, but those were like the first handhelds. Like, oh my God, Tiger Toys! I got to play football, and it's like, you and I hated football. But then like Game Boy took it to a whole other level. It's like, wait, this is like a Nintendo just in green. This is pretty cool. I remember playing stupid games too, like Godzilla. That was a terrible game. I used to play the hell out of it.
But I think it's safe to say that Pokemon was the game that really got Game Boys in people's pockets. That was the reason to get a Game Boy, was to play.
Yeah.
Or even for that generation, at least, yeah.
Even just Nintendo.
That's the cool thing about the Pokemon games. There's like every generation I know had their own Pokemon game. Like me,
I
was red and blue. Like, my game. That's my jam. Some people are like, nah, it's a Pokemon Yellow guy. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But with me, it's like Pokemon didn't come out until like maybe almost 10 years after the first Game Boy came out, so it wasn't even part of my generation at all. Like, Pokemon, what's that? It was like, isn't that cartoon? Like, I didn't even know it was a video game until like the Game Boy came out.
No, I mean, like, pretty much, like, out of my Game Boy stuff, Pokemon's what I remember the most vividly, because, I had it right around, like, elementary school, pretty much, so, that was a big part of my childhood, but, I mean, just because, honestly, like, out of, like, all the portable systems I've owned, like, my Nintendo ones have always been the ones I've kind of cherished the most, because I had a PSP briefly, but I never really enjoyed it that much. I didn't have a lot of good games on it. The only other portable that but also, like, the only other portable I can ever remember really owning was a Sega Nomad, and that thing was a beast. So it was like
I had a Game Gear. It took like 12 AA's. Like,
my Nomad took
like half hour of game.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. My Sega Nomad took like 8 AA's, and it lasted probably about 25 minutes until but yeah, I just with my Game Boy, especially my the original Game Boy, I remember having a lot of good times with it, especially with Pokemon. I mean, that was just like the game that I played probably the most out of any.
That's awesome. So for Game Boy, I guess we'll talk about this again during the 30th anniversary and reminisce some more.
Happy 25 years, Game Boy. You can go rent a car now.
Oh, yeah. All right, next thing on the rundown here. So Xbox One is being released in Japan. Some people, including myself, was like, it's not even going to come out in Japan. I mean, really, do they really care, considering how great Xbox does in Japan? So it's coming out, I know September. Did they give a release date?
September 4th.
So there you go, Japan. You get an Xbox One. I hope you buy it.
And they got 50 Japanese studios to come on to say that, like, yeah, we're going to make something for it.
Yeah. It's a little
titles. We're gonna. I guess we'll do something with it. I don't know. Yeah, is that what you want to hear? Fine. Where's the check?
The press release said 50 Japanese studios, but actually most of them are international or like Western-based studios. But it's just like their Japanese branches that'll be developing games, because they mentioned a lot of the launch titles are gonna be like the same ones that we got here, like Dead Rising 3 and Rise: Son of Rome and things like that. They also mentioned like Sunset Overdrive and the new Halo title whenever those are coming out. So. Yeah, those two.
Yep. We'll see. Hopefully it'll do better than the other Xboxes, but Japan has that thing about Western consoles. They
just kind of sit there and concede it.
Yeah, I guess I could agree with that, but yeah, Japanese are notorious about that stuff. Like, if it isn't Japanese, they don't want to fuck with it.
That's
just how they are. That's their
not
culture.
Necessarily true. I think the Xbox's problem in Japan
for them, yeah.
I think the Xbox's problem in Japan is that it's just it's too fucking big.
That's also true. It can't fit in a Japanese apartment.
And a Kinect, like literally, the Kinect is useless in most Japanese apartments. So it'll be interesting to see if they'll have a Kinect-less SKU for Japan. Or some sort of.
I didn't think about that. You're right about that.
Or some sort of smaller condensed Kinect version, because those voice commands are really good. But if that's all you can use it for, it's just kind of a waste of a sensor. So maybe they'll have a smaller sensor, or maybe you can opt in and out of it. Because to me, I use the voice commands on my Xbox all the damn time, and to me it's super convenient. So I'm imagining not having it. Like I was playing PS3, and I was just like, oh wait, I have to get up and like turn the damn thing on, get the controller, find the thing. It's just like before, if I just want to play Titanfall, I go Xbox, play Titanfall, and it's just like, oh, okay, cool. And I mean, I wish it acknowledged me. That'd be amazing if it just no, hi, bro.
I wish my PS4 loved me.
That's when I wish it acknowledged me. Were you talking to it like PS3 on? Oh wait, it doesn't listen.
Well, I thought about it. Thankfully, I didn't actually do it, but I was just kind of sitting here, and I was like, oh, I should probably play this game. And I'm like, oh wait, how the fuck do I turn this shit on? So yeah, I had to go.
That's hilarious.
Hit the button and switch the AV channel and find my game. So lazy. I'm just so lazy. It's amazing.
All right, so next up, this got me excited. Dragon Age Inquisition got a trailer and official release date, and I made a mess of myself when I saw that, man. I'm so hyped for this game, man. And the thing is, I'm also cautious given how Dragon Age 2 came out, even though I like Dragon Age 2. But, they've been working on this for a few years now. It's not like Dragon Age 2 where they just dumped it out less than a year and a half later. And it's looking great. It's like, wow. And I need to say this is going to be totally nerdy. I love the fact that BioWare understands what a dragon is. 4 limbs and wings. It's not if it has wings and it's just legs, it's a wyvern. It's a wyvern. No, sorry. That's it. They have different names for different reasons, people.
We're gonna have a mythical creature argument.
No, we're not having it, so I'm laying it down. A wyvern has 2 wings and 2 legs. A dragon has 4 limbs and 2 wings. There.
They're fake. You can call them whatever the fuck you want.
No. If they're fake, then just call everything dragon then. Come on. Anyway, but George, I know you really like looking at this thing. You were like, "Oh wow, this is pretty, man."
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing that that YouTube footage of they did like they showed like a 30-minute walkthrough a while back, and I was like, "Damn!" Like it's one of the only times where you're like, "Okay, so this is kind of what next gen is going to look like as far as like a hardcore Western RPG or open world RPG." Like, yeah, we've seen open world games. Yeah, it's great. It looks pretty. But I'm talking about just the seamless nature. I was like, oh yeah, that mountain over there, that's an area. You can just if you survive, you can get there. No big deal. I was like, all right, that's really cool. And just seeing that in motion and like seeing how all the cutscenes are all in in-game engine, which I think that's the biggest thing to point out. It's like, wow, it's a really fucking pretty game.
Yeah, I wonder how it's going to look for the current gen, because this is technically not a real next gen game because it's still on the other consoles. So I wonder if there's going to be any concessions made,
I think it'll just look like ass.
It'll look like ass.
I mean,
that's one way of seeing it. But yeah,
I mean, that's what with Assassin's Creed. That's what happened with like Titanfall. It plays fine. It just you can look at it and be like, oh, like that doesn't look that great. Like it was a 360 game, but like after playing the Xbox One version, you're like, oh, so this is what low res textures look like.
Oh, I remember these. So yeah, I guess you're right about that. But yeah, it's like I don't know how they're going to be able to fit all that shit in there. It's like they have a lot more space now. Like it's Ferelden's in there, Orlais, all these like places that they talked about in the other games, but now you actually get to go there.
I don't know. This sounds like a 9-disc job for if you're doing like a
man, yeah, right.
Or like just a massive just install. Like I can just see a bunch of it because clearly this game's gonna be well over like 50 gigs.
Oh yeah. Easily.
Insert disc 16.
We'll wait for you.
Up front, yeah.
Here's a picture of a dragon while we wait for you to put the disc in. One thing, like a couple weeks ago, I had an episode of the ShockCast called Game-Ageddon 2014 Part 1. I did that deliberately because we're probably going to have a Part 2 because Alien Insurrection, is it Alien? No.
Isolation.
Comes out the same day. It's like, oh my god. game industry, what are you doing to me? You know, and especially as a journalist, it's like, do I have to review both of these at the same time?
I don't know. I mean, next month's gonna be pretty packed, so.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have 3 of these Gamageddon podcasts by the time this year is over.
And then in September it'll be like Gamageddon Part 6.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. But yeah, this is the game I'm most looking forward to. I know we got Watch Dogs, but Dragon Age Inquisition is the game. Especially now that The Witcher isn't coming out this year. Dragon Age, man, that's the game to look out for. Ooh,
and what I also really liked is I love because your main character, the Inquisitor, because they show that default guy with the stupid default helmet, and I'm like, you know what? My guy's gonna look so stupid. It's gonna be amazing watching these serious cutscenes with a guy not wearing a shirt or having purple pants. And I was like, I'm gonna go with just the stupid beret thing I bought for 3 gold. That's I do that purposely just for certain cutscenes. I know it's gonna be a really heavy cutscene. I'm like, I'm gonna put him in a mask. Some other just junky item that just makes him look ridiculous. So I was thinking about that because remember, you can customize these guys. You do male, female. You do the class, and you mess with his outward appearance, which is amazing. So I'm looking forward for that kind of stupidity. But also,
and you know me, George. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pick the stock character and just stick with that.
Yeah.
Lame.
I don't want to customize.
It's what I had to do for Mass Effect because all the other characters looked like ass when I redid the custom characters. So
it's fine. I love it.
Yeah, just stick with Just stick with Box Shepherd. That's what I do. Yeah.
See what they should do. If they're and I want to see this on Xbox One specific things is make use of that camera. Let's see what kind of let's mess with character creators a little bit more. Like we saw with Kinect Sports Rivals, I could easily see something like that in a more maybe a stylized RPG. Maybe when Fortnite comes out, wouldn't that be cool? If your goofy looking character was based loosely on what you look like, to me that would be amazing. If I wanted to play an RPG and just scan my face this way, that way. Remember, FIFA had a really fun one for the World Cup where you had to it made you take pictures of yourself. So you do front, profile, and then at another weird angle, and you submitted them to this thing online that generated your face in 3D, which you can then import into your game. I mean, it was this crazy convoluted process, but when you were done, you're like, oh, that guy kind of looks like me. His mouth won't move, but it kind of looks like me.
Yeah, that would be cool because a lot of people try to replicate themselves in these games. So why not give you the ability to actually scan your face in there? That would be awesome. A lot of people would like that. I wouldn't do it, but a lot of people would like that. Yeah.
Just do it for the next Skyrim or Fallout or something. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, throw that in there. It's next gen. Come on, let's do it. Game.
I don't know. I mean, I always play as Argonians in Elder Scrolls games, so I don't know if I'd want to put my face on that. That might not come out so good, but.
That's awesome. All right, the next thing, we're just going to talk about this quickly. So, surprise, surprise, there's going to be another Call of Duty game this year. Wow.
God.
Oh, my God. And they had a teaser image of a dude's sweaty face. It's not even a full face. It's
Next gen is about sweat, motherfucker. Sweat and beards.
This game promises to have shooting in it. I can say that safely. It will have shooting in it. I wonder if they're gonna make it I know they're not gonna do this, but it would be cool if they just made it only for current gen. They're not gonna do that, but it would be kind of cool. I wonder if are they gonna have an animal in this too? We had a dog in the last one. Are they gonna have a badass eagle or something in this one? America.
The news came out that it's going to be next gen first, so they're going to prioritize, releasing it on Xbox One, PS4, and PC. And then I would assume probably shortly after they would do last gen releases, but
maybe they'll do that same approach for Dragon Age, where it's clearly they're building this for next gen, and they'll ship it out to a studio and be like, all right, make this work on PS3 and Xbox One.
just like Titanfall, just get it to work, guys.
I don't care what you have to do. If you eliminate textures and shadows, and you know what, we don't need all these animations, all right?
540p, fine, just do it.
Just do it. And we'll give you as many discs as you need. Just get it done.
Yeah,
guys.
just get it out there.
Discs don't cost a thing. Just do it.
Call of Duty. What more can you say about that? Okay, this next thing's just a rumor at this point, but it's one of those rumors, just like The Last of Us coming on PS4. How that was a rumor. It's one of these kind of rumors. It's probably gonna happen. The Walking Dead on next gen.
Good.
Yeah, good. It's like I said earlier before the show started. This thing is gonna be on everything like toasters. It's gonna be on It's gonna be on my microphone at one point. So yeah,
if it takes cloud saves and whatever, I'll be happy because I'm not replaying. That's been my biggest issue since I got I want to start Walking Dead on the PC because it's got the less problems than on the consoles.
Yeah.
When I realized I can't play Season 2 unless I play through Season 1 again, I'm like...
Yeah, that was the exact same... Yeah, that was the exact same issue I had. My only remedy was I just replayed the first season and did that, so...
But yeah, if I can do that and just pass it on to the PS4, Xbox One, that'd be perfect. Cause
that would be cool, yeah.
All these indie games should be on those systems anyway. I don't want to hear... Or like these smaller titles. I don't want to hear any bullshit. Just put it on that damn system.
Yep.
Yeah, it would be cool if they had
hit the button that says for Xbox or Xbox, and you put Xbox One, and you hit Make Game, and that's it, right?
Make Game. That's how simple it is, right? That's game development, people. Make Game now. For me, it would be cool if if you had that option like that, and all of a sudden, here's your platinum trophy. Sweet. Just to get out of it. But I mean, how much? Maybe I just hope graphically it's gonna probably not look too different. I just want it to be stable because Walking Dead was hard to get through, man. Like it would just stop at some point. I'm like, what's going on here? I want to shake my console. Like, what are you doing? Work.
Or sometimes it would give away when something was gonna happen because it was just a bit. So it's like, oh, things are quiet, and it's just gonna, and you're like, oh shit, I should be ready. Like in a way, I was using that as my cue, as for like, oh, I should a button prompt's gonna come up soon.
Yeah, I did the same thing, man. Go ahead, Brian.
Some of that in Wolf Among Us, but not as bad as it was in Walking Dead. So you can kind of see that they're gradually getting better.
They are, yeah. It's just one of those like unfortunate things. Kind of like with Obsidian, like how we know that their games are really buggy, or like at Bethesda, it's kind of like Telltale.
Yeah.
Like, that the games do have some technical issues, but it's just kind of how they are. So.
Yeah, people seem to forgive them because the games are really good. It's just how it is. But yeah, I'm down with that. I'll rebuy it, as many times as possible because I really like the game. I guess if that comes out, then they're gonna have season 2 eventually.
Oh
right?
yeah,
they would have to.
Yeah, they would have to. Yep. Probably.
Yeah, because season. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say probably not until like maybe after they're out now on the current consoles. Like probably after all the episodes are out, they'll do them then.
Yeah, because you notice what they're doing with the Vita. For season 1, the episode 1 for Vita came out way later, but now for season 2 they're coming out like they're bringing out the first 2 and then they're going to come out concurrently with the console. So that's pretty good. So maybe with season 3 it'll be all at the same time if they come out with a season 3. We shall see.
Yep.
And the last thing here, there was a BioShock Infinite reference in My Little Pony. That's interesting. Oh, so was it the Lutesses were in the background or something?
Yeah, it was in this past weekend's episode that they had a little nod to they had like ponified versions of Lutess twins from BioShock Infinite were in the episode, just as a little like cameo. And I guess Ken Levine was in on it because he tweeted a picture of the cameo as well out to Twitter. So.
Oh, nice. Did they say anything?
No, they're just in the background. Nope, that's it. But if you happen to be a BioShock Infinite fan and you happen to be a My Little Pony fan, you can catch a really cool cameo. So I know, yeah. Yep.
It sounds like Akuma's appearance in Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. He's just in the background giving food to children. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. All right, so that's pretty much the show. So let's talk about what we've been playing this week. Ryan, what have you been playing?
So only played 2 things this weekend. I played actually, speaking of BioShock Infinite, I played through the second episode of the DLC, the Burial Sea DLC. So I finished both episodes of that. And episode 2 was really good. I liked it, I think, a lot more than I did episode 1. It's still like without spoiling anything, like it does tie into the story pretty heavily, and I think it kind of confuses things more than it clears things up, from the ending of BioShock Infinite. But it was still really cool, and I really enjoyed it. And they add, it's actually really heavy on stealth, which is really interesting for BioShock, because normally I didn't really play it that way, like in the previous games. So this one pretty much focuses all on stealth, and it was a cool, unique thing. Other than that, I've been playing Kirby Triple Deluxe on 3DS for review, and I am really enjoying that game a lot. Especially just because, since Zelda came out, I haven't really been playing my 3DS that much, other than Yoshi's New Island a couple months ago. But and especially, I haven't played a Kirby game in a really long time. So to play this and have it be such an awesome game is a nice surprise. So I'm really enjoying that. So my review will probably go up next week for that.
Nice. George, what about you? What have you been playing?
I've been playing a lot of Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft on my iPad.
Yeah.
The game is like fucking crack. I don't like it, and I don't like collectible card games because, especially on video game versions of it, because it's unreal. There's no, and I've been this close at least half a dozen times. I'm like, I should just spend $5 and buy a new deck. Like I can do better, and then that's when you've got a free-to-play game where
that's when you've got a problem.
Yeah, when you're just kind of debating, where it's like, well, I can just stick to what I'm doing and I'll unlock some pretty good cards, or I can just fucking skip that and get good cards now and start winning and increase my rank and be a baller. So, that's my issue. Stupid fun game. It's also free, so if you have an iPad, get it. It's free on the PC also, but just iPad is such a right fit for that type of game. Where I'm playing it for a couple of minutes before I go to bed. If I get up super early, and I'm just like, I can do one round. Let me pwn some fools. Because you can go against other people. We can invite each other, and we can go at it with cards and stuff. But it's really good. The music is really they must have some psychologist on staff that just knows what you need to do to keep someone playing your game for a super long time and have money. Because even the music, I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna play some fucking cards. I'm gonna kick some ass. My Warlock is on point. God damn it! But yeah, really good. Blizzard knows what they're doing. It's It's just a great game. It's a great free game.
Yeah.
Also, I'm playing a lot of MLB just because I need to know Cobra Jimenez. He's a phenom at only 18 years old. He's starting shortstop for the Boston Red Sox. I'm just saying he's kind of a big deal. And the cool thing, and I mentioned that in my review, is for the first time ever, you're gonna be able to take the save, and when next year's version come out, you can just transfer them right over, which you could never do in any of the previous versions, and there've been a ton of these games, and you just always had to start from scratch, which drove me insane. So yeah, if you're playing it, your cloud save is there, and it'll work on next year's version. And I was like, good fucking night. So good on that. I think that's all I'm really covering for now. Just super busy, but yeah.
So next year you're not gonna make Serpentor Jimenez, right?
I might have him as a catcher or center fielder.
And Hearthstone, it's Hearthstone because I always pronounce it as Hearthstone.
I say Hearthstone.
I don't know.
Yeah, I say Hearthstone.
I don't know. It's a GIF argument. I don't know. Hearth. Who cares?
I think you can go either way on it. It's fine.
And beating this joke to the ground, that's playable on the brown.
Yes.
As for myself, I've been playing Mercenary Kings, which is a really fun,
that game is awesome.
Old school. It's great, man. It's I need this in my life. I miss these kind of games, like fucking Metal Slug. It's great. And the more you play it, the crazier it gets. And tomorrow, which will probably be today for you, actually today, I'm going to the future. My review for Strike Suit Zero will be up. That's a really good game. I've actually, after I finished playing it and reviewed it, I was like, I still want to play this game. This game is pretty fun. I want to unlock all the stuff for my robot.
That initial tutorial is kind of and there's so much. It's a little jarring at first. Kind of once you get the hang of things, it's super fun.
Yeah. In this game, I don't know if they had these in the PC version, but you could play old historical missions. Did they have those? You have to choose a specific ship and go through all these battles.
I'd have to check.
Did they have anything like that in the original one? Okay, but anyway, what's happening with me is you have to go in there, you have to use a specific ship, and in some missions, historically speaking, your characters lose. But the thing is, this is me playing it after I've beaten the game, so I know all the tricks, so I'm beating everything, and the computer's like, I may have to redo the simulation. You're not supposed to win this. I keep beating everything. It's awesome. It's really fun. The game is... It's a little bit clunky, it takes some getting used to, but I love just being inside of a spaceship that turns into a robot. It's my childhood dreams just come true. It's Macross. I'm like, yes, this is fucking awesome. I want to hear the Macross theme just playing throughout this entire game as I play it. It's so fun.
I just want to put a big Skull Squadron emblem on it, and that would work for me.
Exactly. So like I said in my review, I hope they make more of these, and I kind of hope. The only thing that kind of bothered me about the game was the design of the ships. It felt very bland to me. It was like I've seen this in other games before, so I hope they kind of redo some of the stuff. But other than that, I agree. I would like to have one of those Rex suits as a toy, so I could transform it and stuff. That would be so awesome. I also want the Macross ones too, but that's a whole other story. And what else? I think that's all. Yeah, that's all I've been playing. Just those two games. And I did play Octodad, which I don't think I'm gonna go back to it. I like the game for what it is, but it's just more frustrating than anything. Like, yeah, no.
I
Like,
love
it took me 2 hours to beat that.
I don't know, and for whatever
Yeah, it's
reason,
like,
that whole concept of like he's just trying really hard to fit in, and you're just there, and he goes, "I hope no one sees through this disguise." As I knock everything
it's
off.
like, dude, you're clearly an octopus. Yeah, I was like, let me knock everything off. It's hilarious. So yeah, on that level, I absolutely love it. It's just like, how do you come up with something like that? Like, it's crazy.
That's the beauty.
And yeah, that's it. Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
Because
It's great. Yeah, it's cool. I get. Yeah.
in a boardroom, and it's like, yeah, you're an octopus, but you're in a suit, and you're just trying to be, a regular guy. And the next thing out of that person will be, get the fuck out of my office, you maniac.
Yeah, it's like this is gonna be an indie game now. Oh man, it's great. All right, guys. So thanks for listening. We'll see you all next week. Later.